Hey everybody, it's Damien. I've had several interviews lately and I'm not really sure how much of the information that was shared is going to be made public. So I just wanted to come on here and give you guys just a 20-second tour about what's going on for those who follow the channel and are aware. The channel is built like a clock, and what its design is it rides the waves of time and influence. And I teach these skills to people, and there are levels and degrees to the teachings in which you find here. Each organizational structure is built within the body, and those systems can be correlated into what is commonly referred to as remote viewing, remote influencing, and remote projection. That takes a very large leap of faith, I understand, when most people today are just now learning about something called remote viewing, which is the foundational matrix behind this type of science and art. I am the founder and teacher of Elemental Hypertech. These words hopefully someday will become important to many of you because it is a new way of looking at your participation with life. One where you are not simply a grain of sand in an infinite beach of the universe, but one where you play a critical and important role in order to make the world function the way it does. And the more in tune you are with your purpose, so to speak, your joy, right? And you have a choice in that and what that means to you. And the more harmonized you are with the things that you do every single day, and the more aware of your actions you are, generally, the better you become, right? And you do what the Army says, be all that you can be, all right? You can be the average of yourself too, and you can be below average. This is evidence that choice matters in your life. So these systems that you learn here with remote viewing, the mind that we discuss, which is connected to the past, remote influencing, which is the gut, and that is water, and remote projection, which is the heart, that is fire, that is the present, the gut, the future, and the mind, the past. And through these combinations and through these structures that you learn with remote viewing is a fantastic tool for organization. Everything has its proper place in the remote viewing matrix, right? When you sit down with a pen and paper, you have to put these items that you are receiving by tuning to them, right? Plugging in, and then you're receiving information. That information has to be placed in very specific places. It's similar to that. However, with the techniques that you learn here, those specific places are in tuned like an instrument in your body. So your body becomes the element of earth, your mind the element of air, your heart, again, the element of fire, and your gut, the element of water. And this begins the foundational structure behind Elemental Hypertech, is in tuning yourselves to the different elements that we have around us and having a way to live in harmony with those elements. And then other aspects of your life start to build upon that, right? So we start associating different technologies into this, right? We can associate time as a technology into our foundational elemental matrix, right? Time, past, present, and future is the Trinity there. How you know it's a technology? Because there's a Trinity, there are three pieces that come together like a triangle to triangulate in time and space to make something else. So time being a technology and construct in this sense, we know that there are three aspects to time: past, present, and future. So how do we organize that and harmonize with that to have access to a richer, deeper experience? What is the Trinity that you need to utilize to pull and give? Because the systems you learn here, there is a warning. And I've said it several times on this channel. And that warning is when you utilize these practices and you are retrieving information, at whatever detail you want, however you want to, you also have to realize you are leaving something of yourself in exchange back within the same intensity value as well. So what you are learning here is a very advanced system of the game of life. Right? Which you'll start hearing a lot more. You'll start hearing that come up. If you follow the channel, you'll know the game of life is going to be associated with competition. But so the Trinity behind past, present, and future, organized within the body, just to stay focused, is the past is the mind, I remember when. The present is the heart, right? Your hands come from your heart, the electromagnetic spectrum of yourself, your energy signature, and you do things with those hands. Your hands don't care about the past. Your hands don't care about the future. Your hands only care about what you do right now. So there's your hands that come out of the present, your heart. And then there is the future, which is your gut, and that is remote influencing. Remote projection is in the heart. And remote viewing, which is what people are starting to become interested in here now. People who are learning these new skills that they call psychic, right? Funny. Psychic. Psychic is another term that just means your internal world. How big is your internal world? How deep do you go? So when you build your timelines and you're organizing your life, your game as well, to receive and transmit with efficiency and effectiveness, and you also receive as a treasure and reward memory, to remember, for example, what you had for dinner last night and not take more than 2 seconds to recall that in great detail. Or you can ask yourself, what was the last movie you saw in the theater? And you should be receiving that information immediately. It should not take you 5 minutes to figure out which movie you saw last, right? This is how you know as well whether you are being remote controlled or you are controlling your own destiny, your quest. Being able to recall exactly what you're looking for at exactly the right moment in time is connected to your mind. Your mind is connected to the past because you want to remember where you left it, or you want to remember where somebody else left it, and you have to have access to that to find it, right? This is how the mind solves problems, if you will. That is part of remote viewing because it's, again, associated to the past. And the word that we use for that is detection, where remote influencing, which would come from the gut, and the future, that would be correction. And then you would have remote projection, which is in the heart and the present, and that is direction. For those who have listened this long, I think this would be a perfect opportunity to give examples between two competitive narratives. And I want this to be very, very controversial because I believe that this is where you spur friction and where people choose sides. And by choice, you become committed. And that commitment will require expression, or if it's not expressed, then it just becomes more pressurized. And that pressure can be used as a fuel source for you at a later time. At that time in which you choose to take control over your own destiny, over your own life, over your own game. So let's give an example of competition within the game of life. An organization built within mathematics. And that mathematics is the rainbow bridge between science and religion. So you will notice that they are connected. And by building these connections, you have greater access to refining and defining moments in time. And the morality matrix is natural law, and there are 7 of them. And these numbers are important as well because we're here solving problems with time, correct? Within this game. So when you look at the morality matrix, we describe them as the 7 virtues, the 7 principles. When you touch the top of your head, that is mentalism, that's the mind. The second is correspondence, that's the senses. Point to your throat, that's the third, vibration, your throat. The fourth are your hands, that is polarity. The fifth is your heart, rhythm. The sixth, touch your gut, cause and effect. And the seventh is gender, and that is reproduction and elimination. I lovingly call the face of the theater, or sometimes Pluto. Depends on what level and degree you are at within the Hypertech School. Now, with the 7 virtues, you also have the 7 immortals, or the 7 deadly sins, as they are called in religion. And with that, you actually go backwards. So 7, your reproductive and elimination systems, that would be lust. 6th, your gut, would be gluttony. 5th, your heart, greed. 4th, your hands, sloth. 3rd, your throat, wrath. 2nd, your senses, envy. And your mind, first, is pride. There have been a lot of discussions on these interviews that have gone into the Bible. So for those who are biblically minded, if you take the 10 Commandments, you can utilize the same mathematical principle within your body. And the mathematical principles within your body fits within the 10 Commandments. And so if you do the exact same thing, when you put the hand on top of your head, which is your mind, that is, there shall be no other gods before me. The second, your senses, is no idols. The third, your throat, is do not speak the Lord's name in vain. The fourth, which is your hands, which is remember the Sabbath. So within the Bible matrix too, on the 7 as well, which is like the 7 chakras, but the 7 that's the day God rested. So remember the Sabbath is your hands. The 5th, your heart, is honor thy father and mother. The 6th, the gut, is do not murder. The 7, which is again your reproduction and your elimination, is do not commit adultery. Now, what's really interesting about the Bible that I find of extreme value is they actually give you the technology next with the 8th, 9th, and 10th commandment. This is the technology in which leads you to temptation, which leads you to damnation, which leads you to, issues and chaos in your life. It tells you what the Trinity is, what the technology you have to use in order to go down that path. It gives you the key to self-destruction. And the next 3. The 8th is do not steal. The 9th is do not lie. And the 10th is do not lust. Now, in the spirit of competition, let's look at physics. Physics being evidence and temperature. The masculine active external expressions, where psychic would be pressure. That is the passive feminine internal impressions. In the Eastern teachings, we would call this yin and yang, and that is to be fruitful and multiply. Within physics, they are represented by the infinite potentials of the equations of pi and phi. Pi being 3.14159 to infinity. Phi, or the Fibonacci, that is to multiply, where pi is to be fruitful. But Fibonacci is 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5. And that is another equation that has infinite potential and probabilities. These two are the mathematical foundations of language and communication of our world. So evidence, being physics, and your psychic is compassion. And we explored these practices through the experiments in which you find here on this channel. And we performed each element so that way it becomes easier for you to understand how each one plays a role in the organization of the complex systems in which you find for your game of life. And remember, not everybody considers it a game. We explored the element of air, which is the mind. We perform the Trinity experiment, and the reward and treasure you receive is wealth. Water, which is the gut. The experiment we performed was called the Lash factor experiment. The treasure and reward for that was health. Fire is the heart. That is the echo experiment. That is your aim. That is what you receive as a treasure and reward. Joy and purpose. Earth, which is the body, it was the private experiment, but it's also the game of life. That is the public side to that experiment for those who are interested in participating and putting these concepts into practice in their own world. And the reward and treasure for your action, form, and style is experience, perspective, and memory. Do you feel those to be valuable and worthy? To talk a little bit more about physics and how it relates to be fruitful and multiply, or division and multiplication, is we can look at our most advanced technology today. And this plays a role with time travel because it gives you an idea of the direction in which we are going. With energy and physics, there are two components. There is the fission, which is the division aspects, where you create energy from matter, right? Some would call that fuel. And there is the combination. And that one would be fusion, where you create matter out of energy. So time travel is a mechanism that gives you access to all potentials and probabilities. They are infinite. We do not know the ends of them. Because of the mathematics involved, the foundational source where these aspects come from are based in the principles which we cover here in time travel. This is how you physically do it within the game that we are talking about here. So you have two aspects. You have the divide and the multiplication. You have the fusion and the fission. You have the yin and the yang, right? You have the positive and the negative. You have a range in which to draw upon within time travel, and through choice and through the influences that are around you as well, your probability matrix becomes smaller and smaller. Now, you can fine-tune that probability matrix through choice and through action, through aim. It's not about what you believe. That actually works against you. Belief is a mechanism where you are allowing more probabilities to enter into your local choice field. What are the things that you want? So you're adding extra. What we're discussing here with time travel is you move all of them into a singularity, into one point, and that allows you projection, allows you to move, and not aggression. This is through permission, just to, again, another warning. So that singularity and focus becomes you by your choice. So you are directing your actions because you are maneuvering within the probability matrix on paths and quests that you find of value. And by doing that, you're attuning yourself to the vibration and frequencies within those world lines, those timelines. Just like there are numerous phone numbers you can dial in to different people. Different people are completely different worlds. We put these boundaries and these constructs on things like time and space so that way we can understand them. That way we can maneuver within them. The clock is like this, the center of a civilization. The calendar. Everything comes out of that. This is similar to how you go to first source. A really good example of first source would be to look at the internet and to discover what the first website was. It was CERN, the particle accelerator in Switzerland. And this is related to time travel. And within the discussion we're having here, time travel is related to transportation. So to finish off with the game of life, let's talk about when you go on your quest, on your journey, when you're ready to venture into the world. I would like to give you a harmonic, a color spectrum, a chakra cleanse, whatever term that you find of most enjoyment. And let's organize the chakras. Within the transportation matrix, when you go about your day, you will find that things are in control. Things are managed. And you will have to maneuver within the game through these rules, right? All games have rules. Rules to follow, so that way you get the richer experience. So what are your rules? The rules that you will find when you go on your quest, on your journey in the world, will be communicated to you in symbols and signs, right? Everywhere we go, there are signs. And to bring a richer, deeper experience into your game of life, allow me to give you a Trinity, a deeper, richer relationship with the colors that you see around you, because you can harmonize with those in your body as well through what's called your chakras, because you have a color spectrum as well, and each one of these has a mechanism of participation, if you like. So you can have multiple channels running at the same time to bring into your singularity, into your ever-present now, the moment, right? A gift. To build some rules, we can use the color wheel and the chakra spectrum in our bodies, and we can harmonize these together so our external world and our internal world have a bridge of communication. So I'd like to offer some rules to the game of life. And we'll use the colors to do that. We'll use 1, white, offering, Uranus. An example, when you are transporting yourself from point A to point B within time travel, is you will notice signs and symbols everywhere you go on the roads. And those signs are color-coded. When you see white on a sign, that is offering. Generally, offering is also associated with another color, like black. So when you are driving on the asphalt, you'll notice the asphalt is black and the lines are white. Or you'll look at the mile per hour sign and it'll it'll be in white and black. Black is control. Control in Saturn. White is offering and Uranus, so they're controlling your movement, and the white is offering you the lane. When they say 65 miles per hour is the maximum speed limit, that they're controlling how fast you go. And they're providing that, they're offering you that with the white as well on the sign. These are some of the rules to the game of life. A filter, a narrative in which you can build. And you can associate good or bad, positive or negative, indifference, tolerance, whatever labels you want to put on them. It's you are the participator. That's what you're doing. You are now moving from an observer or spectator to a participator. And hopefully you will become a director of your game. And then after that, perhaps you won't even see it as a game anymore. Next is purple. Sovereign. The star. When you are moving around, you don't see very many purple signs unless they're near government buildings or places that are designated in a different category. Blue is a much more common color that you see when you are traveling. And blue is commerce. Neptune. An example is when you see a sign that is blue, it will generally be for some type of like gas or food, some way to transact business between two parties. A lot of companies in the world also have blue in their logos. And I think that's an interesting distinction because they are in the markets. Green, service, Venus is another rule to the game of life. When you see a green sign, it generally represents a road or a pathway, a way to make it easier to get from one place to another. They are generally street names, right? Number 5, yellow, activity, Jupiter. So 1 is white, 2 is purple, 3 is blue. Rule number 4 is green, and 5 is yellow. When you see a sign that is yellow, it is generally accompanied with black as well for control, but the yellow represents some type of activity, like a railroad crossing or a deer crossing. Orange, change, Mercury. When you are traveling and you see orange, they are generally on cones or on people who are making change. They're maintaining the road or making an addition, doing something, changing something. That's what orange represents. Red, priority, Mars. When you see a stop sign, for example, it is red. Or a stoplight, it is red. It takes priority over all others. If you see a brown sign on your quest, it is culture, Pluto. They are usually museums or recreation areas. Gray, support, the moon. And of course, we went over black, which is control, and Saturn. So in the end, time travel requires elements. It requires a clock, a tracking mechanism, a calendar, so that way a course can be plotted and degrees can be put into cycles. Because on this channel, we have a different relationship with the heavens. That relationship is based off sound and a harmonic. It moves as a pattern above us. And each one of them has their own pattern and flower that they produce, which changes the harmonics of our world. And by having an organizational system with the planets, with the stars actually move as one piece. It's the planets that are transient, so to speak. They are influential in our world. And just like 88 keys on a piano, there are 88 constellations. And when you tune in to these, time becomes a construct and technology that can be accessed, past, present, or future. And with the future, you are riding the waves of influence with attention and an organization that allows you to have memory access to the aggregated systems within harmony. And this helps us on time travel because it's easier to plot a course when you have a way to triangulate in time.